Yeah, this is in honor of Kevin. In honor of Kevin. All right, so we got the music right. Sorry about that. I had to flip over. Let's get back to the song. My bad, my bad. Here we go.
I follow to the edge of it all. To the edge of it all. So tell your good night. 'Cause I'll find a better one. Yeah. So put the book down before the moment flies.
Before it flies.
So tell your good nights. 'Cause I'll write a better one. Ooh. So set the ball down before the moment flies.
Yeah.
It's not a
In honor of Kevin, got to put the candle in there. All right.
know what I'm getting into.
All right.
Yeah.
Shout out to you, Snuggles. I see you there. I got a monologue that I want to get to, and then I'll acknowledge anybody that comes into the live stream.
Either way, I follow. No need to say
No need to say it.
where we are heading now, babe. I follow to the edge of it all. So tell your good lies.
Tell them the good lies, right?
'Cause I'll find a better one. Yeah.
What would he say? Shout out to the CIA, the confident, intelligent, and assertive men. One love to the FBI, the feminine, beautiful, and inspirational ladies. Yeah. Good times, good times. The moment flies. Boopity 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 bop. All right. So I wanted to do this, and before I get started with what I'm going to say here in this live stream, I have not covered Kevin Samuels one time on my channel. And that's been for a reason. And I want to say, as far as with this live stream, this is not monetized. I don't want to make 1 cent off of Kevin Samuels' name. Not 1 cent. This is not monetized. It never will be. I have never covered anything regarding Kevin Samuels while I've been on YouTube, while I've been creating content, because I wanted to make sure that anything that I created was from my audience and people that I was bringing in. And I respected Kevin Samuels so much, and I'm going to talk about it here today, what he taught me and what I learned from him. Is the reason why I didn't cover Kevin Samuels doesn't have anything to do with how I felt about his content or about how much I appreciated it. I just wanted to respect it, and I wanted to make sure that I garnered my audience myself, not trying to use his content. If anybody else does that, cool, but that's not what this is about. I'm not reacting to anything that Kevin did. I'm not doing any of that in this. I'm strictly talking about in this live stream what Kevin Samuels meant for me and how it impacted me and what I learned from him. Because in my opinion, I think the best way you can honor somebody is reflecting and letting them know in one way or another how much they impacted you. If this is your first time tuning in, my name is Monte Lee. This is the Carrot Juice Podcast. Here on the Carrot Juice Podcast, I do commentary and perspective on popular culture. I talk about some dating. I talk about true crime. And I also talk about being productive, things you can do to be productive in your life. What Kevin Samuels, above all things, taught me was, well, let me rewind a bit. The whole reason why I found Kevin Samuels in the first place was during the pandemic, everybody was at home. I was at home during the pandemic because I got laid off for a bit with my job. If you don't know, I'm a probation officer. So I was at home, and during the pandemic, a lot of people was around March 2020. And I got on YouTube and I watched people like Graham Stephan. I watched people like Shelby Church who influenced me. But then I found Kevin Samuels. And I think the video that drew me to him was the Average at Best video. I think everybody knows what that is. Average at Best. In that video, a lot happened. He was patient. He was harsh. He was stylish and fly. But above all else, it was refreshing, and it was something that I hadn't seen before. So I discovered Kevin Samuels from the Average at Best video during the pandemic, and I continued to watch his content. And I learned more and more, and I binged it. A lot of people who listen to KS content, that's what they did at the onset, if they were really listening, I found. So I did that for some time. And then after a while, it became part of my routine. I don't know if that was the same for you. So it's been over a week. Kevin Samuels passed away, unfortunately, on May 5th, 2022 of a heart attack. When I first found out, I didn't believe it. I thought it was a joke. I thought it was just some blogger that was making up something. I didn't want to believe that it was KS. Because I watched his live stream almost every day after it aired, because I couldn't stay up late for that replay. I had to get up early in the morning to go to work, but I would listen to it while I was commuting to work and while I was at work. Go ahead and drop the comments and let me know how you listen to his content. But that was my experience. And the day before, May 4th, he had a live stream, and I listened to it that morning on May 5th. So when I first got the news, it was like maybe around 4 o'clock. Maybe around 5 o'clock that Friday. Was it a Friday? Well, on May 5th, it was around 5 o'clock. And then I started seeing the tweets about it. And I was saying Kevin Samuels was trending. And I was looking, and then I started seeing RIP, and I didn't believe it. And I was scanning through my phone, and I was scanning on YouTube and figuring out if anybody knew anything. And then ultimately, as we all know, we got the word that Kevin Samuels passed. It took me a while to process it. I was kind of numb at first, and it didn't really impact me initially, but eventually I broke down. And I found it very strange that somebody that I never met, somebody I never had a conversation with, I could feel so close to just from listening to their content, from hearing their impact, from getting the knowledge, the wisdom, the style, the presence. And it all hit home for me the most when I listened to a live stream he did about 12 days ago now. And during that live stream, he did the normal live stream like he does, about 2 hours long, 2.5 hours long. He does his monologue. He's talking to people. He's giving people, he's got his soundboard going and all that. And at the end, before he was wrapping up, he said he wanted to do something for somebody. You want to know what he did that surprised me so much at that moment? But then when I replayed it back, it hit me even more. He said that he went into a comment section when he was looking at people talking about music. And he pulled up a comment from a brother named Kenna. And the guy was talking about how much Kendrick Lamar impacted him. About how he's been working on his craft, and he knows that right now he's just somebody that's trying to learn and trying to get better. And he knows his time will come. But right now he's happy just being somebody in the community. Well, Kevin related to that because he was that person. And he said when he first came to YouTube, that's what he did. He got involved in the community before he made it. And he commented and he interacted. You want to know what Kevin Samuels did? On his platform, over 1.4 million subscribers, he put that brother's song up and played it. And at that time, I think that guy had like 300 subscribers. He put the song up, he played it, and he allowed his community to listen to that brother's song. I thought it was a great moment. Song was really good. Called Monster by Kenna. And he also told people to go give him a sub and to support that brother. That was the type of man Kevin Samuels was. Somebody that wanted to lift other people up. He wasn't trying to just keep everything to himself. And when I replayed that, it hit me. I broke down for a moment. And I am not a very emotional person. But he had a huge and profound impact on my life. And I want to say to Kevin Samuels' family and friends, condolences from my family to yours. Kevin, rest well. You've impacted so many lives that you don't even know. I hope you're hearing this. I hope I do you justice with this tribute. And in this tribute, I'm going to keep it with what I learned from him and how he impacted me. So in true Kevin Samuels fashion, this is what I'm going to do. Shout outs to everybody that's in the chat. Shout out to y'all. Shout out to Snuggles. I kind of cover how I felt when I heard the news. And Snuggles says she listens to the content starting from Bernard Riley when he talked about what you all black men need to do. Okay, cool. Shout out to you, Red Lipstick Vibe. Shout out to you. So in true Kevin Samuels fashion, he would appreciate this. And I'm going to show you what I learned from him. The first thing that I learned is about fragrances. And I picked up some fragrances from his recommendations. He would want to know what they were. So the first one that I picked up, which was a clean scent from one of his list videos. He would do these lists earlier when he was on YouTube, and he would talk about like good fragrances for men to get if they're going to just be out and it's hot and it's going to be just like something you could put on when you go to the gym or you could have in the bathroom as a toilet. And that's this fragrance right here. I picked up the Giorgio Armani Acqua di Gio. Okay. I picked that up because of a recommendation from Kevin Samuels. Okay. This is clean, a very clean scent, a little citrusy, perfect to have in the bathroom or to put on before you go to the gym. That was one of the first fragrances that I picked up from hearing a recommendation from Kevin Samuels. All right. Another one that's just a everyday driver. Anytime, if you know Kevin Samuels, he loved fragrances, and he would talk about them. He would talk about the different scents and how you need to mix them with your style and all of that. And I was soaking it up because I didn't know that much about fragrance before. My fragrance game was horrible. And he talked about this one. He talked about Dior Sauvage and how this one was he would call it like a chick magnet, like a everyday, like every man needs to have a signature fragrance is what he would call it. One that a man needs to get, doesn't break the bank, and it's going to be one that could last for you. Every man could get this one. And that is this right here, Dior Sauvage. I get compliments on this one anytime I put it on. It's a parfum, so it's more oil based, so it's going to last longer. So if it's a hot day, you might not want to put it on, but in the winter time, if you're not in the office all day, perfect. This one right here, perfect for you. Put that in there. My camera doesn't want to focus. We'll get it eventually. You kind of see it. There we go. Sauvage, baby. Dior Sauvage. All right. This one's about $110 or whatever. I recommend it for any man. And ladies, if you trying to pick up a gift for your man or a gift for your father, I highly recommend. This will go well with any man. Trust me. Dior Sauvage. This was one of the first signature fragrances I got due to Kevin. Okay. And then there's something else. There's something that is a little bit of something fun to switch it up if you want to get something that's a little bit more sweet, not too sweet, and you want to go out in the town. Say you're in Miami or you're in Vegas and you want to have a good night on the town with your lady. This one right here, this is unisex, so men and women could use this. All right. We got Valentino Umo right here. Now this one's citrusy, little floral, sweet. This one is amazing. Okay. I get compliments anytime I wear this one. All right. This is sexy. This is night on the town. This is Vegas. This is Miami. Trust me. Valentino. This is about $90. Can't beat this. All right. So that's 3. I have 5 of them here. All right. Kevin would be proud. I hope you're proud of my selection thus far, Kevin. All right. And now we have some of Kevin's favorite. Okay. I picked this up in October when I was in Vegas. All right. When I was in Vegas, I went to what store? What was Kevin's favorite store? Tom Ford. I went to Tom Ford when I was in Vegas. I was in Caesar's Palace, and I went into their fragrance shop that was in by the food court. And I remember Kevin Samuels in one of his before he got started with his monologues on one of his live streams, he talked about Tom Ford Oud Wood. Like if you're getting started with Tom Ford, they had the one called Fucking Fabulous and also Oud Wood. And he said Oud Wood is one that's just like an old school masculine fragrance that any man should have as a base fragrance for Tom Ford. That is this fragrance right here. It's got that musk, that oud. It's just sophisticated, man. This is it's got the mob boss, boardroom, CEO feel. All right. Now this is not cheap. I think it's about $290 for a bottle. But this is Tom Ford Oud Wood. All right. You got to pick this up as a man. Trust me. We'll get it. There we go. Tom Ford Oud Wood. You see that? Boom. You got to pick this up as a man. Trust me, fellas. All right. So this is my base Tom Ford I got. All right. And then another one to be able to layer it with, that Kevin always talked about how you could layer fragrances. All right. This one's the showstopper, also Tom Ford. And these are both Eau Parfums, so they're not as strong as the Dior, which is more oil based. But this would last all day? It's very strong, but the Tuscan leather has that sophistication. Imagine yourself at a cigar lounge, having a cocktail, having a Manhattan, having an old fashioned. You put the oud wood on the beginning of the day, and then before you go out to finish the rest of your day, you throw on this Tuscan leather. It smells like some old rustic leather boots with a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of vanilla in there. It's marvelous. Tuscan Leather by Tom Ford. You cannot go wrong with this one, people. You cannot go wrong with that. Trust me. It's amazing. Tom Ford Tuscan Leather, baby. All right. So those are my 5. And this is all thanks to Kevin. He got me into fragrances. I'm going to put on some of this now, actually, because this is amazing. So he taught me about fragrance. He taught me about sophistication, being a man. And for that, I'll forever be grateful for him. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. He was a man that if you didn't have a father figure, or if you didn't know about this stuff, because I didn't know about fragrances as a man, Kevin was right there to give you that guidance, to give you that information that you might have not got. Okay? He always talked about frames, fragrance, and footwear. So in true Kevin Samuels fashion, I wanted to make sure I got you guys smelling good. All right? So now we're going to get into some more serious matters. Kevin Samuels taught me, above all else, how to be intelligent, to be confident, and to not worry about what everybody has to say about you as a man. If you know what you're saying is true, don't worry about trying to pander to people. Don't suppress your voice just because it might hurt somebody's feelings. And I think what Kevin did well above all else was he knew the impact and how important it was to have a good and professional and appropriate image as a man. He talked about it as a man in general. He also was specific to black men. But as a man, you have to be mindful of your image. You have to be mindful of the perception that people will have of you. He always talked about, that there's a certain ceiling you're going to have on yourself as a man if you don't present yourself a certain way. If you're trying to move up the corporate ladder, or if you're an entrepreneur and you want to broker deals with other businesses and companies. He talked about, like, you're going to limit your ability to do that if you got dreads. You're going to limit your ability to do that if you got a t-shirt, some jeans, and some Jordans on and you're trying to do something like that. He knew the importance of image, of wearing a suit, of having a good shoe, a good boot, a good chukka boot, okay, rather than sneakers as a man. Kevin Samuels made it cool to mature. He made it worthwhile to be a man. I'm not going to lie, because of Kevin Samuels, I am looking forward to getting my salt and pepper. Because when I was growing up, when I was a teenager, when I was in my 20s, I thought I was missing out on things in life because I didn't have a home yet, or I didn't have that car I wanted to drive yet, or I didn't have the girl in my life that I thought I wanted and needed at that time. But by listening to Kevin Samuels' content over the past 2 years that I got blessed with finding him, because I found him 2 years ago. I didn't know him before, his content before. He preached and talked about how, as a man from 18 to 30, you needed to be in process. You needed to develop your wolf pack, your friends, If you're a lawyer or if you're an accountant or if you're a businessman or a plumber, you need to find your friend that's an accountant. You need to find your friend that's in tech. You need to find your friend that's going to law, vice versa. You need to establish a wolf pack. So you guys got a whole skill set. It's almost like you're putting the Avengers together. You guys could go tackle life together rather than being a lone wolf. And if you're a lone wolf, which a lot of men are, I know I have those tendencies, it's going to hold you back from a lot of things in life. And these are things that a lot of men, especially black men, haven't been told over the years because we don't talk to each other. We're macho. We think that we can do it all. But Kevin Samuels made it cool for us to learn from one another. He made it cool for us to be like, you know what? He's right. I don't have to do this all by myself. There's more to life than just trying to be fly, trying to get a chain, trying to get the next watch, trying to impress some girl. He knew that by improving your image as a man, continue to try to get better each and every day, and putting the work in and grinding while you're in process, it will set you up for the outcomes that you want at the end of the day. Kevin Samuels, more so than any other YouTubers that were in the manosphere that was talking about relationships and what have you, was trying to actually build up the image and the perception of men, because he knew if there were more men that were strong, that were doing their thing, that were on their purpose, on their grind, they would be attractive to women. And if the women make themselves worthy of commitment and ultimately marriage, if that's what the outcome you want, it would help the community. I don't think people understand how big of an impact he has had on the awareness level of men now. That's one of the major takeaways and keys that I've learned from Kevin Samuels. To be aware of what's going on, to recognize that the contentious nature of a lot of these arguments and debates that people have around men and women, yes, we're going to have them. But Kevin had a great and a knack for doing this. He had a knack for attacking the argument, not the person. And that's a takeaway that I'm going to utilize more. And I think I have used that, but he was a master at it, a brilliant communicator. He kept the conversation on the topic, the topic at hand, and the conversation and the argument, not the person. He always said, don't resort to sign language, shame, insults, guilt, and the need to be right. The whole time while he was doing this, I was taking notes, soaking it up, digesting all of that information and knowledge. And I respected his content and his platform so much, I didn't want to react to any of his content because I didn't want to gain a following like that. No knock to anybody that does, but I wanted to make sure that the content that I created and the content that I did in my own way was a black man sharing his perspective on things that are going on. And by watching Kevin Samuels, by seeing his set, by seeing his design of his content, he definitely inspired me to do this setup. I got inspiration from Graham Stephan too, with like some of the lights in the background or whatever, but getting this mic stand, having an angle when it comes to how I'm setting up my set and all that, I was influenced by Kevin Samuels a lot. but I had respect for his content and I didn't want to react to it. I really don't like doing reactions that much anyway. I say all of that to say that I had profound respect for this man because he was speaking the truth. And I don't think people realize that it's easy to lie to people. It's very easy to tell people what they want to hear. Listen up, this is important. If you lie to somebody, he would say this. If you lie to somebody, if you lie to people, if you lie to women, the women buy. If you tell people sweet nothings that they want to hear, they soak it up. Somebody that really loves you and somebody that has your best interest in mind is willing to do what? They're willing to tell you uncomfortable truths about you and about life so you could get better outcomes. And that was Kevin Samuels. Say what you want about him. You don't have to like everything you have to say. You don't have to agree with everything he said. But you do have to acknowledge this. He was respectful. He kept it on the topic. And he had a mission and a goal and a purpose to make the community better, to improve the quality of life of men, and a direct result of that will improve the quality of life of women, because he wanted women and men to get together and to get married. He talked about in his mix, in his Facebook group, he got women married, men and women married, people that were actually ready if they showed and that they were intentional and that's what they wanted, if that's the outcome that they wanted. He would always ask people, what's the outcome that you want? I'm giving you some things that I learned from him. And I'm always going to have that information right here. And anybody that was a fan of Kevin Samuels, anybody that rocked with what he had to say, knows that we lost a real one when we lost Kevin Samuels. But his legacy and his spirit did not die. It lives on in the people who listened and who will apply the knowledge and that will continue to speak the truth in a manner that's not disrespecting anybody, but moving the conversation forward. So many times during live streams and during interaction, he said it's not about him. He said he was going to get what he wanted in the end run, but it's not about him. He knew the conversation was bigger than him, and it is. But he had an amazing impact on the world and on me. I don't think it really has set in for me how much I'm going to miss getting that knowledge from him. But I think one thing that we can do as a community and as people and on YouTube is keeping the conversations, the topic, the arguments on the topic, not on degrading, not on shame, insults, guilt, and the need to be right, as Kevin would say, sign language, because that just muddles the conversation. He would say that if somebody is constantly shaming you, if somebody constantly needs to be right and you're arguing with them or having a conversation or a discourse with them, just walk away. because that conversation isn't going to go anywhere, and you're just wasting your time at that point. That's the tact that I have with a lot of things that I do in my life. And part of that is from the wisdom that I learned from Kevin Samuels. I think it's about time that men use their voices, speak about what they want to speak about. I don't want to be Kevin Samuels. I never will try to be him. I am inspired by him, his message, his impact on male image, confidence, being assertive, making moves, making sure that you break the mold and don't get complacent with what you're doing in life. All that part of his spirit will live on in people like me. And I don't think Kevin Samuels wanted anybody to try to be him. I think he wanted you to be the best version of you, no matter what that is. And that's the message that I learned. And that's what I learned from Kevin Samuels. Absolutely. Trap Politics TV, shout out to you. He says, we lost an uncle, but his message will live in a lot of hearts. I agree with that. Snuggles, I don't know about all of these questions that you're asking about turning against him and whatever. Yeah, there are people that did that. However, Kevin Samuels had a great gift. You know what he always did? He didn't beef with people. And neither will I. He also did something that I thought was great. He had something called the Smoke Show. You guys remember what the Smoke Show was? He would have maybe once or twice a month a show where it's all his detractors, people who disagree with them, and he would allow them to come on his platform and argue against his topic and speak their piece. He only had one condition. What was that one condition? Don't overtalk me. But he would allow you to speak. He would allow you to speak your mind. And as long as we kept it on the topic and you cammed up, we could have that discourse. So he addressed all the people who were detractors of him. If they didn't come up, they didn't want the smoke. That's what I saw. I think it goes without saying, I don't even have to address the people who were celebrating his demise, who are creating GoFundMes to raise money to try to get gain from his passing. I think it goes without saying that those people were already hurt well before Kevin Samuels. That's not about Kevin Samuels. Somebody that would do that is not happy with where they are in life. So I don't even want to waste energy highlighting people who were already damaged and hurt before. I think Kevin Samuels will want men to stay focused and keep the conversation moving forward and making sure that we are doing what we're doing, especially if we're in process. I'm 33. I'm in process. I'm not a finished product. I got a lot more things I want to do in life, Lord willing. But the things that I learned from Kevin Samuels, I'm going to keep on doing and talking about. In this live stream, I mean, I didn't script this. I'm just talking from the heart about what he meant to me. And another thing that he talked about was every man needs to get a watch. He talked about the importance of getting one watch, one real legit watch. Whatever your budget is, that's besides the point. And he inspired me to do that, and I picked this up. And I'm not rich by any means, but he has a lot of great information in his catalog showing men how to level up, how to be mature. And I always say, when it comes to watches, no bust downs, man. For men, no bust downs. Plain Janes is the way to go. These retain value. And after listening to Kevin Samuels and seeing him talk about Rolexes, Audemars, Piguets, things like that, I ended up going with a Frederic Constant, a Swiss watch. All right. The person who started this company used to work at, I believe it's Audemars Piguet, and he started his own company, Frederic Constant, all right, in Genevieve, Switzerland. And this is, it has its own movement. So you can see there, mechanical watch. And this watch you can get for under $2,000. Okay. It's not a Rolex, but it's a quality piece. And this is the type of watch that you could pick up as a man, and it could be in your family for generations. And I've said that once I have a kid, if I end up having a son, I don't have any children now, I'll pass this watch on. And Kevin Samuels taught me this. Listening to Kevin Samuels is one of the reasons why I picked up this watch. So it's just man shit. Pardon my French. I learned a lot about how to be more refined as a man by listening to Kevin Samuels and watching his live streams. He was just a fly dude. You guys know what I'm talking about. He was just a fly cat, man. And I think it goes without saying that there's a huge void that's going to be in YouTube because of the passing of Kevin Samuels. And I want more people to take the tack that he had as far as if you're on these debate shows, if you're on these panels, don't just ramble on and get into your emotions. Make sure that you keep the conversation on the topic. Make sure that as a man, you're being confident. And what does confidence mean? I would say it like this. If you're being confident, a way you could be confident as a man is you be confident by getting competent. Your competence breeds accomplishments. The more accomplishments you have will make you more confident, and it just goes around in a circle. So as a man, you need to be confident. Okay? You also need to be intelligent. So you need to be learned. You need to read. You need to make sure that you're constantly trying to get better by 1 degree each day. Make sure that you don't get stagnant. Get better by at least 1 degree each and every day, so you could be more adept and competent. He also talked about being assertive. Don't be afraid to step on somebody's toes respectfully, but don't just be agreeable with everything. Part of being a man is being assertive and making sure that if you have something you want to say, if you want to make more money at your job, go up and tell the people, hey, what do I need to do to make more money? Then do it. Don't be agreeable. Be assertive. Be confident, intelligent. CIA. That's some things that I learned from the Godfather, Kevin Samuels. TBE Trucking, shout out to you. And I don't want this to drag on. I don't do live streams often. I don't do 1-2 hour live streams. I might end up doing more live streams, but I just wanted to use this moment to impart some of the knowledge that I learned as a man from him, and that I'm going to keep on talking about here on my platform, my podcast. And what I plan on doing is using that knowledge and putting it in my own way. And hopefully I can help men and women be more productive. Okay. Express themselves and talk about things that they want to talk about. I teach people how to do podcasts. All right. And I talk about the culture as well. But I think you'd be surprised about how many people Kevin Samuels touched by live streaming from various locations that he did it from in such a fly fashion. All right. Even me I have a switcher. I have, this setup with the lighting and everything. A lot of it was influenced by Kevin Samuels and what he did. And for the people saying he spewed hate, I would say they didn't listen to him. So I don't even think those people are really worth acknowledging. His friend Dennis Sperling, I know he's doing a great job of making sure that he's keeping his family insulated and all that. And I think that's great. But let's not lose sight of the conversation, people. You got to ask yourself as a man, and then I'll wrap this up. What are the outcomes that you want in life? Because what I've noticed and what I've realized is a lot of men who are younger, 20s, late 20s, early 30s, are spending way too much of their time worrying about what women are doing, worrying about if they're enough for a woman, trying to impress women, wasting their time courting and trying to impress women who aren't worthy of that. I would say, men, fellas, focus on developing, progressing yourself as a man. Women can be in your life, but make sure that if somebody is in your life, they're worthy of that time. Make sure that if you have somebody in your life, they're an asset to it and not a liability. This is something that Kevin Samuels taught me as well. Because time is money. And time is finite. And time is something that you will never, ever, ever get back. So it's a travesty to me when there's men who are wasting their time on people who don't care about them. I'm not saying that this is all, but I'm just saying I see way too many men putting their time, energy into IG models, women who don't respect them, that talk crap about them behind their back. And I'm just saying, no, you're important. Focus on you and make sure if a woman comes into your life, she is treating you with respect and also worthy of that time. Because you could either be a blue collar worker, you could be a man that's a Henry in process and training, a hit squad, he would say. You could be a Henry, high earner, not rich yet, in process, on your way budding into being a high value man. And all the while, all those men deserve respect. That's what I learned from Kevin Samuels. Because what he did is I think he woke up a lot more men than people have ever known. And his spirit will remain alive based on his catalog, based on his presence, based on his impact on the culture. And that will never die. Because there are so many people who were impacted by his life, by his legacy, and by what he's meant to so many people and continue to mean. So I wanted to do this above all else because I've seen a lot of people trying to make money off of his name. And I just thought it was fitting to let him know and just let people who rock with him, his family, know how much he impacted my life. I mean, I cried when Kobe died. I cried when Aaliyah died. And I cried when Kevin Samuels died. And I don't cry at a lot of things. I'm not an emotional man. But he impacted me that much. Because I knew what he was doing for the community. I knew how much he meant for men, especially black men, for women, especially black women, because he was willing to tell them the truth, and how much he meant for the community at large, because people who was in the streets, people who were blue collar workers, high value men, politicians, people in fashion, people in hip hop, normal everyday guys, people who were content creators, respected him because he was the true. I'll end it with this. He was, somebody said it well, and I'll say it again. He was, his friend Dennis Sperling said this, and I thought it was profound. He was the aircraft carrier with ships and infantry and a whole battalion behind him. But he was the aircraft carrier leading what men were talking about and the movement here in this space. And he will never be forgotten, man. He won't. So, again, condolences to Kevin Samuels' family, to his friends, to the community for losing the Godfather, Kevin Samuels. This has been another episode of the Carrot Juice podcast. Like I said at the beginning of this stream, this is not monetized. This will never be monetized. I never did a video on Kevin Samuels here on this channel, but I thought this was necessary because I wanted to let people know how much he meant to me and that his spirit will stay alive. It will never die as far as I'm concerned. So until next time, we're gonna go out in true Kevin Samuels fashion, because you already know a lot of people are getting these all the time. So, one love, peace, R.I.P. Kevin.
In this moment. nothing can stop me. Cause I'm addicted to